The following program, offered by Fox 19, includes lawyers licensed in Kentucky. For those lawyers to maintain compliance with the Kentucky Bar Association requirements, the phrase, "This is an advertisement," must appear on the screen. Moore Law is underwritten in the public interest by the Moore Law Firm, a legal professional association. This is Moore Law on Fox 19.
Welcome to Moore Law. Today our topic is personal injury. If you've been injured, you need to know what your rights are under the law. Has the insurance company offered you a settlement? Should you accept it? Is there a time limit for filing a claim? The phone lines are open. If you've been injured and don't know what to do, give us a call at 513-421-4691. Again, the phone lines are open, but first we want to take a look at what we'll be bringing to you, or what we'll be talking about over the next couple of weeks. On July 9th, Ask Us Anything. July 16th, Heard on the Job, and July 23rd, Divorce and Child Custody. Joining me today, as every Monday, Attorney Don Moore. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great, Deb. How about you?
We can tell I've got a little allergy issue, I think, is what's going on here.
Right. I understand that you got to go to the music hall this weekend.
Oh, it was great. It was Porgy and Bess. I took my 13-year-old. He loved it. It was just going into that building. It's so historic. You can now see Washington Park outside of it, all the renovations. It really, and the musical was amazing.
So while you were doing the erudite stuff, I did a birthday party in Quaker State 400.
See, this is why we get along so well. We have many stories to tell.
Well, it was a lot of fun, and it was a great race.
You went to that race?
I did. Wow. a little warm.
No doubt. I was without power, so I understand what you were dealing with.
Well, I enjoyed being in Northern Kentucky, and today we have a very special guest whose office is in Northern Kentucky. Penny Hendy, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot for coming.
Oh, my pleasure to be here.
Tell us a little bit about your practice, Penny.
I practice a lot of plaintiff's work. That means I do personal injury work when people have been hurt in car accidents or as the result of medical negligence or as a result of a defective product.
Okay. And we already have some calls coming in, so let's get right to that. First up, we have Tara in Cincinnati. Tara, I understand you're a renter and your garage door fell on your head and you're trying to figure out what to do about that.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead and tell us a little bit about what happened, and have you pursued any action?
Actually, the only thing I've done is seek medical assistance, but as far as a lawyer, I haven't sought any help. What happened was I moved in his unit on August 1st. We had a verbal agreement of all things that needed to be fixed before a certain time period. The garage door was one of those things on the list. He did have someone come out in November of 2011 to check on the garage door. They did an estimate, and they never came back. On May 8th, the garage top part, the pins came out, and I called him and informed him that it was broken. For security reasons, I put the pins back in so that no one could climb through. On May 10th, I was closing the garage door, and top of it came down on the top of my head. I was knocked out for about 15 minutes. I was incapacitated for about 2 weeks. I failed classes in school. I had to cancel my birthday party, which was May 13th. And so far, the only compensation that I received is 2 pieces and a couple of pops.
Okay. Penny, what might you suggest for Tara?
For this renter, I think the important things that she have already pointed out is what the landlord did know, because that's always important for them to understand what's going on with anything that may be having a problem with on the premises, and you've done a great job of that. What you have to keep in mind, though, is there's a certain amount of time to pursue something, so you probably do need to talk with someone, because the landlord can be responsible if they knew about this problem with the garage door and they didn't do anything about it. Incidentally, if there was a person that came out and checked the garage door or looked at the garage door, they could have some liability too if they didn't fix it properly or did something to the door that made it more dangerous to you and caused your injury. So you can seek compensation for medical expenses, pain and suffering, and time lost from work, those type of things.
Don, would you add anything?
Yeah, Tara, actually, Penny has made some great points regarding even another person who might potentially be liable. One of the things that we're going to talk about a little bit later in the show is traumatic brain injuries. If you're knocked out, you've suffered a brain injury. So that's not it's not a maybe you did and maybe you didn't. You did. The only issue is how much of an impact that's going to have on your life and what, if anything, can be done about it. So it's something you need to follow up on medically as well as legally. So I would suggest you do that. And there's one other point I wanted to mention to you. In Ohio, there is a fairly strong landlord-tenant law, and specifically landlord liability for failure to provide a safe place. So there's a couple different issues you need to look at, and we wish you the best of luck in your recovery.
Okay. And another call from Cincinnati today. Tiffany, go ahead, Tiffany.
Yes, my name is Tiffany. I had a baby December 9th of 2011, and during the process of him being born, a resident doctor pulled his arm. It was separated at the elbow, and my concern is, I'm trying to figure out how the case. He is suffering as far as now he's in the process of trying to crawl, and he's not using that arm, the left elbow. He moves the right one, but he's not using the left one. I'm not for sure what to do.
Okay, Penny?
These can be very complex cases. It's sometimes not a matter of just pulling on the arm. It's actually in the birthing process, there can be a pulling of the head. It's called a brachial plexus injury, where nerves, when you pull on the head and the neck, are injured. So you should consult with somebody and let somebody take a look at the medical records. You might want to get the medical records together from the birthing process. And you do want to pursue that as soon as you can, because to investigate something, you need time to be able to do that.
And on the medical malpractice aspect, you've only got 1 year, so that's important. You follow up immediately. Time goes by quickly.
And we also talk always about the details are so important. So in something like this, you just want to make sure that everything's documented, that you have all the details from the beginning.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay. All right, we're going to take a break now. We have a few more calls on the line. Stick with us. We have a few lines open, though. 421-4120. We're talking all about injuries on More Law. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to More Law on Fox 19, your legal questions live, with local broadcaster and award-winning reporter Deb Haas and Cincinnati personal injury attorney Don Moore, recognized by Ohio super lawyers. More answers, more help, more law on Fox 19.
Thanks for sticking with us here on More Law. Today, of course, we are talking all about injuries. We had a caller just a few minutes ago who had concerns about she had been hit in the head. And Don, you actually brought a graphic along that you wanted to talk about brain injuries.
Yeah, I did. You know, there's several different ways those types of injuries can occur. One would be a sporting injury or a car accident, bicycle accident, falls, child abuse. Those are all things that can cause traumatic brain injuries. But one of the things that people don't know is that they often are very subtle. Basically, people have a little personality change. They're a little grouchier than they were before. These things are not readily evident. Okay, so we've got another photograph, actually a little drawing that I'd like for you to take a look at. This demonstrates coup contre coup. The lady who called a few minutes ago and got hit on the head, chances are her brain suffered two impacts. First was the impact that was on one side of her head, and then basically the brain travels to the other side of the skull and suffers an impact on the other side. So people don't recognize that. It's a big deal. What doctors call a mild traumatic brain injury can really mess your life up. It can change your personality, it can disable you from work, it can do all kinds of things, and from the outside you look perfectly normal.
And Don, does that tend to be something that happens over time? For example, I recover from what happened to me and I think I'm fine, and then but it deteriorates over time? Well,
it can be both ways. Recall Chris Henry not long ago. He had suffered multiple brain traumas, and then he behaved irrationally and wound up getting killed in a mishap, falling out of a truck.
Right.
And my goodness, there's a lot of things about football players and things where and boxers, repeated injury over a period of time. That's one way. The other way is just a single trauma. You have a hard enough lick, you get a bleed, and then that area of the brain can actually start to die. And when it does, once it's gone forever.
Right. Okay. Well, we have a different type of injury someone wants to talk to us about now. Tracy in Cincinnati. Tracy, you were involved in an accident, and as I understand it, your question has to do with chiropractic care?
Yes, I was involved in an accident back in January of 11, and I was pulling in my driveway and was sideswiped by a car. And I've been seeing a chiropractor, and I really can't get any solid information, but I asked for you know, an exit interview and all that stuff. And they just sent me something in the email saying, well, the doctor recommends you get seen 2 times a month for continuous care. And I still have the insurance company calling me. It's like, I don't know, they keep pressing me for information, but I don't know what to do.
Is there anything you might suggest that she do?
I think the best thing to do under any circumstances, always too, especially if you're confused with your provider, is to talk directly to the chiropractor and also consider getting a second opinion. Many times in the insurance industry, they don't, they look at chiropractors as different, so many times getting someone to support their position of your care and treatment is a family physician who then could refer you to an orthopedic specialist. And it's always a good idea, like I said, to get another opinion. It never hurts. You're entitled to do that and to get the best care you can.
Do you see many issues, Penny, where, I don't know, whether it's an insurance company or a doctor's office, where people are just putting up roadblocks and, I don't know, are they hoping the statute of limitations runs out, or I can just see there's a lot of pushback?
I think it can be a couple of things there, and one of them is you don't want to wait. You don't want to just sit back. I like your idea of saying, hey, I've got an issue here, I'm going to address it. And that's exactly what you need to do. You need to get that additional doctor or someone else to help support your position, because I think an insurance company or somebody else is not looking out for your best interest, they're looking out for the company's best interest. So you need to make sure that you're looking out for yours. So I would definitely say that she's on the right track.
Okay. Good luck with that, Tracy. And next up we have Dwayne in Northern Kentucky. Dwayne, how can we help?
Yeah, I just had a question. I had gotten hurt at work while I was working under the table for a company. And I was just wondering, am I responsible for the hospital bills and whatnot?
Dwayne, you were injured at work. If you're injured at work, it's something that, as long as you've reported the injury, it's something you must do. You've got to report that right away to your employer, let them know what happened to you, and they will be responsible for paying the bills. But sometimes you have to work through them, because there's specific providers that they may go to or may have their group go to that you would have to see. So that's why it's so important to have an open communication with your employer and make sure that you've informed them, and then you'll be able to get those medical bills paid through workers' comp, as long as it was during the course of your employment that you were injured.
And Don, you wanted to say something about that too?
And Penny, of course, that's right, the reporting and everything. Another thing that's important to remember is that oftentimes a person's injured as a result of someone else's negligence, even though they're working at the time. So if you have a claim because someone else hurt you and you were working, you've got both a workers' compensation claim, excuse me, and you've also got a claim against the person that hurt you. As long as it's not a fellow employee, they have immunity.
You know, when we talk about some of these things, it's amazing to me how long the cases can go on. You've talked about things that go on for years and years, and I assume that's because you're dealing with, you know, the employers, the medical, community and insurance companies.
Well, you know, a lot of people, there is a myth, and that is a lawsuit is a quick buck. That's a lie. That's just a straight lie. Generally, when a case comes in our door, we're figuring average time 1.5 to 2 years minimum. 3 is not uncommon. Resolved a case last year, 5 years. The longest so far for me is 10. And that is because it got caught up in the court system. We're doing everything we can to go as fast as we can, and it just takes time. It's hard, it's not easy.
Okay. All right, we'll be right back on More Law, talking all about injuries. Call us 513-421-4691. We'll be right back.